I never truly thought I would be the one to sit here and say this on camera, but the situation has escalated beyond our wildest models. We have received a second transmission from 3i Atlas, and this time, terrifyingly, it contained names. Before we begin this analysis, I need you to do something specific for me. Go down and comment your city name below and tell me honestly, have you noticed anything unusual in the night sky over the last few days? I'm talking about strange patterns of light, objects that shouldn't be there, or movements that defy physics. NASA is quietly collecting these reports, and they desperately need to know where these phenomena are being seen. Do it now before you forget, because what I am about to share may fundamentally change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. I have spent my entire professional career decoding the complex language of the cosmos. I've written equations that describe the violent birth of stars, the collapse of supermassive black holes, and the very fabric of space-time itself. I have theorized about parallel universes, traversable wormholes, and dimensions that exist beyond our limited perception. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for what happened 3 weeks ago when 3i Atlas sent its second message. The first transmission was unsettling enough on its own, a rogue interstellar object hurtling through our solar system at impossible angles, emitting a structured electromagnetic pulse that bore no resemblance to natural cosmic radiation. We tried to dismiss it, of course. Solar interference, they said, quantum noise, instrumental error. But deep down, every scientist in that room knew the truth. We knew we were looking at something intelligent, something that wanted to be heard. Then it went silent. For 41 agonizing days, 3i Atlas continued its trajectory past Jupiter, past Mars, coasting through the asteroid belt like a silent ghost ship in the void. We tracked it obsessively, radio telescopes across 6 continents locked onto its position, waiting for a whisper. We waited, and in that deafening silence, I began to sleep poorly. I would wake at 3 in the morning with a feeling I can only describe as cosmic dread. The sensation that something vast, ancient, and incomprehensible was watching, calculating and deciding our fate. Then 3i Atlas transmitted again. This time the signal was different, stronger, more deliberate, and undeniably structured. It lasted exactly 7 minutes and 19 seconds, a specific duration that we later realized corresponds to the wavelength of hydrogen's hyperfine transition multiplied by the golden ratio. Someone was speaking mathematics. Someone was speaking the only universal language we know, but it wasn't the mathematics that shook us to our core. It was what came embedded deeply within it. When our team at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory began decoding the data stream, we found something that shouldn't exist in a cosmic transmission. We found linguistic structures, distinct patterns that matched human phonemes. And then, buried in the 4th minute of the signal, rendered in binary encoded frequency modulation, we found them. Names, human names. There were 27 of them in total. Each name appeared once, separated by precisely 1.44 seconds of silence, as if whoever sent this message wanted us to absorb the weight of each one individually. The list began with Maria Rieke, the mathematician who spent her life studying the Nazca lines. Then came Nikola Tesla, Carl Sagan, Hypatia of Alexandria, Ramanujan, Emmy Noether, Ibn al-Haytham. These were names spanning continents, centuries, and disciplines. Scientists, poets, mystics, engineers. These were individuals who looked up at the stars and dared to ask the questions most of us are too afraid to whisper. I sat in that control room, frozen, as the names scrolled across the screen, and I felt something inside me break. These weren't random. This wasn't a coincidence. Someone out there, something out there, had been watching us. Not just watching our planet, not just monitoring our electromagnetic emissions, but studying us, knowing us, cataloging the individuals who pushed our species toward understanding. And then, at the very end of the list, there were 3 names that hadn't been spoken yet, 3 names of people who are still alive today. I cannot tell you who they are, I have been advised, no, warned not to disclose their identities publicly. But I can tell you this, all three are currently working on projects related to consciousness, artificial intelligence, and quantum communication. All three have published papers in the last 18 months theorizing about non-local information transfer and the possibility of universe-scale computation. And all three received the same message in their dreams the night before 3I Atlas transmitted. They each described it identically, a voice that wasn't a voice, a presence that felt like being observed by the universe itself, and a single phrase repeated in a loop. You are seen, you are known, you are ready. Ready for what? That is the question that has been keeping me awake ever since, because this changes everything we thought we understood about first contact. We have always imagined that when we finally encountered extraterrestrial intelligence, it would be through deliberate signals beamed blindly across the galaxy, mathematical proofs, prime numbers, pictorial representations of our solar system. We thought we would be the ones sending the messages, desperately shouting into the cosmic void, hoping someone might answer. We never considered the terrifying possibility that they might already know everything about us, that they might have been cataloging our progress, our achievements, and our most brilliant minds for generations. The implications are staggering. If 3I Atlas knows these names, it means someone or something has been monitoring human cultural and scientific development in extraordinary detail. It means they have access to our historical records, our literature, our broadcasts. It means they understand not just our technology, but our values, our curiosity, and our drive to transcend our limitations. And if they understand all of that, then they also understand our conflicts, our weapons, and our capacity for self-destruction. Some of my colleagues believe this is a form of cosmic acknowledgement, a greeting card from the galactic community welcoming us to the next stage of our evolution. They point to the fact that every name on that list represents someone who contributed to human knowledge, who elevated our understanding of reality. They say this is a message of encouragement, proof that we are being guided, that our struggles haven't gone unnoticed. But I'm not so sure. Because there is something deeply unsettling about being cataloged, about knowing that your achievements, your thoughts, and your very existence have been observed and filed away by an intelligence you can't see, can't communicate with, and can't understand. It feels less like an invitation and more like an inventory. And inventories are made for a reason. Let me share something that most people don't know. Back in 2019, before anyone had heard of 3I Atlas, before we detected any anomalous interstellar objects in our solar system, there was a classified meeting at the International Astronomical Congress. Representatives from 14 space agencies gathered behind closed doors to discuss what was termed preparedness protocols for non-responsive contact scenarios. The premise was simple but chilling. What do we do if we detect clear evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence, but that intelligence refuses to engage with us directly? What if they are simply watching, studying us like anthropologists observe an uncontacted tribe in the Amazon rainforest? The consensus was terrifying in its honesty. We would have no protocol. We would have no response plan, because how do you negotiate with something that won't speak to you? How do you assert your autonomy as a species when you discover you've been living in someone else's observatory? That meeting concluded with a recommendation that was never made public. The recommendation was this: if we ever detected evidence of sustained, deliberate observation by an advanced non-human intelligence, we should not attempt mass disclosure. The psychological impact on human civilization would be catastrophic, because it would mean confronting the ultimate existential horror, that we are not the protagonists of our own story. 3I Atlas has given us names. It has shown us that it knows who we are, what we've accomplished, and perhaps most disturbingly, who among us is currently pushing the boundaries of consciousness and technology. It isn't asking for our input. It isn't requesting a dialogue. It is simply informing us. This is what happens when you aren't the most advanced intelligence in the room. You don't get to ask questions, you get told. The astrophysics community is fractured over this. Some want to send a response to beam a message toward the trajectory 3I Atlas is following as it exits our solar system. Others argue that responding would be catastrophic, that if we confirm we've received and understood the message, we might trigger something we are not prepared for. A third group, and I find myself reluctantly agreeing with them, believes we have already been in a dialogue, that every space probe we have launched, every radio telescope we have aimed at the stars, every peer-reviewed paper we have published about the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, all of it has been our side of a conversation we didn't realize we were having. Think about it. We have been broadcasting our presence into space for over a century. Radio waves, television signals, military radar, satellite communications, all of it propagating outward at the speed of light, creating an ever-expanding sphere of human noise in the cosmos. Anyone with sufficiently advanced technology within 100 light years of Earth would know we are here. They would have intercepted our transmissions. They would have decoded them. They would have learned our languages, studied our behavior, and analyzed our psychology. And if they have been listening that long, then they know something else too. They know we are approaching a critical threshold. In the last 100 years, we have split the atom, decoded the genome, developed artificial intelligence, and begun manipulating quantum states. We have gone from horse-drawn carriages to reusable rockets, from telegraphs to quantum computers, from bloodletting to CRISPR gene editing. The pace of our technological acceleration is exponential, and every sufficiently advanced civilization in the galaxy would recognize what that means. It means we are either about to transcend our limitations and join the community of spacefaring species, or we are about to destroy ourselves. There is no middle ground. History, both human and I suspect cosmic, shows us that civilizations at this stage either make the leap or they collapse. They either learn to manage their power or they are consumed by it. And 3i Atlas is here right now at this precise moment in our development, transmitting names. Why? I believe it is a test. Not a test in the sense of an examination we can pass or fail, but a test in the sense of a measurement. They are checking to see if we understand what is happening, if we are capable of recognizing the significance of this moment. The names aren't random accolades. They are a mirror. They are showing us the best versions of ourselves, the individuals who represented our highest potential. And they are asking us a silent question. Are you still producing minds like these? Are you still reaching upward, or have you turned inward? Are you still curious, or have you become complacent? And here is what troubles me most. That list of names, those 27 individuals who shaped human knowledge and pushed our understanding forward. Do you know when the most recent name on that list was born? 1963. We are living in 2025. And the most recent person on that list is over 60 years old. The message is clear. They have been watching us for decades, perhaps centuries, and they have noticed something. Our golden age of fundamental discovery might be behind us. Our greatest leaps in understanding the universe, relativity, quantum mechanics, the structure of DNA, the cosmic microwave background, those happened generations ago. What have we done lately that would impress a galaxy-spanning intelligence? We have built faster computers, yes. We have created sophisticated algorithms, powerful weapons, and immersive entertainment systems, but have we fundamentally expanded our understanding of reality? Have we produced another Einstein, another Curie, another Sagan? Or have we become a civilization that is optimized for consumption rather than creation, for distraction rather than discovery? That is the question 3i Atlas is posing, and it is a question that should terrify us, because if an advanced intelligence is monitoring our development and they have decided to send us a list of our greatest minds, implying that they've noticed those minds are in the past, not the present, what does that tell us about how they view our trajectory? There is a concept in evolutionary biology called a developmental bottleneck. It is a phase where a species either adapts to new environmental pressures or it stagnates and eventually declines. I think humanity is in a cosmic developmental bottleneck. We have all the tools we need to become a Type 1 civilization, A species that harnesses the full energy of its planet, that thinks in terms of global cooperation rather than tribal conflict, that treats knowledge as its most precious resource. But we also have all the tools we need to extinguish ourselves, and every day we make choices that determine which path we are on. 3i Atlas knows this. Whoever built it, whoever programmed it, whoever sent it on its journey through our solar system, they have seen this stage before. They have watched other civilizations reach this exact point. Some made it through, others didn't. And the ones that didn't, well, they became archaeological curiosities, ruins on distant worlds. Faint electromagnetic echoes fading into the cosmic background radiation. Cautionary tales told by the species that survived. Is that what we are becoming? A cautionary tale? I don't have the answer, but I do know this. The second transmission from 3i Atlas wasn't meant to comfort us. It was meant to wake us up, to remind us that we are being observed, evaluated, and perhaps judged by standards we can barely comprehend. The universe is not a sanctuary. It is an arena, and every intelligence that emerges into it must prove it deserves to continue existing. The names in that transmission represent our proof. They are evidence that humanity is capable of brilliance, of transcendence, of contributing something meaningful to the cosmic story. But they are also in the past tense. They are a record of what we were, not necessarily what we are. And that distinction matters. Since the second transmission, there has been a quiet shift in certain scientific communities. Researchers who were focused on conventional problems, climate modeling, materials engineering, pharmaceutical development, have started asking different questions, bigger questions, questions about consciousness as a fundamental property of the universe, questions about whether intelligence itself might be a cosmic imperative, a force that the universe uses to understand itself, questions about whether we are alone in asking these questions or whether we are part of a much larger conversation that has been unfolding for billions of years. I have started asking those questions too. At night, when I look up at the sky, I don't just see stars anymore. I see witnesses. I see billions of years of cosmic evolution culminating in this singular moment where a species on a small blue planet receives a message from something beyond its comprehension. And I wonder, are we the first humans to feel this way? Or have there been others throughout history who looked up and sensed they were being watched? Prophets, mystics, shamans, poets, people who spoke of visions and voices and presences that existed beyond the material world. Were they crazy? Or were they the only ones sensitive enough to detect what has always been there? There is a phenomenon in quantum physics called entanglement. Two particles can become correlated in such a way that measuring one instantly affects the other, regardless of the distance separating them. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance because it seemed to violate everything we understood about causality and the speed of light. But it is real. It has been experimentally verified thousands of times, and it suggests something profound, that connection, correlation, and information transfer can exist outside the normal constraints of space-time. What if consciousness works the same way? What if minds sufficiently developed and sufficiently aware can become entangled with the universe itself? What if that is what those three living people on the transmission list experienced? Not a message beamed across space, but a direct connection, a cosmic entanglement, a moment where their consciousness briefly synchronized with something vast and ancient and utterly alien. This is speculation, of course, but it is speculation grounded in real physics, real mathematics, and real phenomena that we have observed and measured. And it leads to an uncomfortable conclusion that we might be living in a universe that is far more conscious, far more interconnected, and far more alive than we have ever allowed ourselves to imagine. And that 3i Atlas isn't just a probe or a message. It is a node in a network, a signal in a conversation, a ripple in an ocean of awareness that spans galaxies. If that is true, then the names in the transmission take on a different meaning. They aren't just a historical record. They are an invitation, a list of humans who managed, through their work and their wonder and their relentless curiosity, to briefly touch that network, to send their own ripples into the cosmic ocean. And the message is clear. These people figured it out. They glimpsed the deeper pattern. Can you? I don't know if we can, but I know we have to try, because the alternative is unbearable. The alternative is accepting that we are a species in decline, that our moment of cosmic relevance has passed, that future civilizations will study us the way we study the Library of Alexandria, as a tragic example of potential squandered, of knowledge lost, of a light that burned bright and then went out. We are at a crossroads. 3i Atlas has made that clear. We can continue down the path we are on, fragmented, distracted, obsessed with trivial conflicts and short-term gains, and we will fade into cosmic obscurity. Or we can remember what those 27 names represent. We can reclaim our curiosity. We can prioritize understanding over entertainment, wisdom over wealth, connection over conquest. We can become a species worthy of the message we've received. The clock is ticking. 3i Atlas is already past Neptune, accelerating toward the heliopause, preparing to leave our solar system and continue its journey through the galaxy. In a few months, it will be beyond our ability to communicate with it. The window is closing, and I can't shake the feeling that this is it. This is our moment. This is when we either prove we understand or we reveal that we don't. I have been asked repeatedly what I think we should do. Should we respond? Should we attempt to send our own message? Should we try to match the trajectory of 3i Atlas and intercept it before it leaves? My answer is always the same. The response isn't something we send into space. The response is something we become. The message we need to transmit isn't encoded in radio waves or laser pulses. It is encoded in our choices, our priorities, and our willingness to look up at the universe and recognize ourselves as part of something infinite. Because here is what I believe. I believe 3i Atlas already knows whether we are going to make it. I believe the second transmission wasn't a question. It was a notification, a final acknowledgement before they move on to observe the next species, the next world, the next iteration of intelligence trying to find its place in the cosmos. And whether that acknowledgement is a benediction or a eulogy depends entirely on what we do next. There are moments in history that define everything that comes after. Moments where the trajectory of an entire civilization shifts, where choices made by a single generation echo across millennia. The invention of agriculture, the development of writing, the Industrial Revolution, the atomic age, we are living in one of those moments right now. And unlike our ancestors, we cannot claim ignorance. We have been told, we have been shown, we have been given names, a roadmap of human potential. And we have been asked implicitly but unmistakably whether we are still capable of adding to that list. Are we? I want to believe we are. I want to believe that somewhere right now, there is a young person looking up at the stars with the same wonder that drove Sagan and Tesla and Hypatia. Someone who will ask a question no one has asked before. Someone who will see a pattern no one has seen. Someone whose name will be worthy of the next transmission, should 3i Atlas ever return. But belief isn't enough. Hope isn't enough. We need action. We need a fundamental reimagining of what it means to be human in a universe that is watching. We need to teach our children that the stars aren't just decoration. They are destinations. They are laboratories. They are libraries containing secrets we have barely begun to uncover. We need to fund science not as an afterthought, but as our primary investment in the future. We need to celebrate curiosity, reward exploration, and build a culture that values understanding as the highest form of wealth. Because if we don't, the next transmission won't have any names at all. Follow this channel as we continue decoding the universe's final warnings, as we track 3i Atlas and whatever comes after it, and as we try to understand whether we are witnessing the beginning of a new chapter in human history or the closing lines of the last one. I will leave you with this thought. On the night after we decoded the second transmission, I stood outside and looked up at the sky for hours. And I asked a question I had never asked before. Not just asked it, but felt it with every fiber of my being. I asked, "Are you still watching?" And somewhere in the vast silence between the stars, I swear I felt an answer. Not in words, not in signals, but in the sudden, overwhelming awareness that yes, they are. They always have been. And what happens next is entirely up to us. So tell me, What do you think those names mean? Are we being honored or archived, encouraged or warned? And most importantly, whose names should be added to the list? Comment below, because I genuinely want to know. I want to know if you feel it too. This sense that something fundamental has shifted, that we are living in a moment that will be remembered, one way or another, for as long as anyone is left to remember. The universe is waiting. The question is,